Welcome, CCR students. I am Julie Magnuson, and today's guest speaker is Ainsley Yee, who will be speaking to us about her career and college pathways, as well as answering questions today that you have already submitted. So I want to welcome Ainsley here to our guest presentation. And Ainsley, would you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and your pathway?
Sure, thanks for having me. So I work for Bachman's. I'm an HR generalist and recruiter. My career pathway looked a lot like a lot of yours will. I went to Rosemont High School, graduated, went straight to the University of Minnesota Duluth. I went in knowing what my degree was going to be in, but I didn't fully know what I wanted to do with that degree. I got a broad business administration degree. And then as I narrowed down options, I ended up with a human resource management emphasis. And then I graduated, worked for a couple different companies. I've worked for United Way, Target, Accounting Principles, which is a pretty small firm. Their parent company is actually the largest staffing agency in the world. And then I now work for Bachman's.
So now you're with the flowers and the plants.
I am. I don't get the view very often, but I do get to claim that.
With a store right here in Richfield, I'm sure a lot of our Richfield families know Bachman's. I do want to know if anyone is having, sorry, Ainsley?
Oh, sorry, I'm just saying that's where I'm located.
Oh, you are? Oh, so you're very close by. Well, that's great. On a technical note, if anybody is having any technical difficulties, please put a comment in the chat box and our tech crew will take care of that for you. Okay, so we learned that you went to Rosemont High School. Do you feel that your education prepared you for your career pathway, and did you have a favorite class in high school?
Yeah, I would say Rosemont definitely got me prepared for college, and I don't know if I would say that they prepared me for the real world, but they definitely got me on the right pathway. And what was the second part? Favorite class?
Do you have a favorite class?
Yeah. So my favorite class would have been, I had a mentor program that I absolutely loved. And I actually had thought I was going to go into teaching, and they allowed me to go into the classroom before I would have picked a major in college. And it actually deterred me from going to school for that. And it actually helped me pick the right college for myself. I almost went to River Falls for teaching because it is known as a teaching school.
So you had that opportunity in high school to kind of try out a teaching path under the guidance of a mentor?
Yeah, so it was a 2-trimester long course. The first trimester was I was doing research, I was doing Myers-Briggs, I was creating research papers and trying to figure out what I wanted to learn. And then the second trimester was more hands-on, where I was actually going into a classroom, watching teachers teach, prep, all of the behind-the-scenes things that teachers end up doing. And then at the very end of the trimester, I had to present what my findings were on not only what my research paper was, but also what my experience was like.
What a fantastic hands-on experience for you to take advantage of while you were in high school. And then you didn't have to waste college credits on something that wasn't meant for you to do.
Truly, I loved it.
Oh, that's great. Were you an athlete or involved in any activities in high school? And if so, how did you balance everything?
Sure, I was an athlete. I did play softball, but I only played through my junior year. But I also was in theater, so I was more behind the scenes. I enjoyed the creative painting the stages, things like that. So I would do theater in the fall and softball in the spring. And to balance workload, I would wake up early and do homework. I've always been kind of a morning person anyway. Otherwise, I would participate in activities until probably 5, 6 o'clock at night. And then I would eat dinner and do homework for a couple hours. And I would really try to make sure that I would cut it off around 9 o'clock, take an hour to relax, decompress, and then whatever I needed to finish in the morning, I would finish.
So Ainsley, it sounds like you really developed some great time management skills while you were still a high school student. Do you think those habits have helped you succeed in your career?
Absolutely. Time management is definitely something, if you want to succeed, you will need to learn, because there's going to be a lot of balls up in the air at any given time, and learning how to prioritize and know what needs to happen first, what can wait, and if something needs to get pushed off, even by an hour, what can that be, and who do you need to contact and communicate with?
That's great for you to share with our high school students. So kids, when the teachers are talking to you about time management, here you have a real life example that it really does matter. It sounds like you hadn't really quite decided what you would want to do when you were in high school. You explored a couple different paths. Did you imagine you would be in this kind of position, or were you really pretty open-minded when you were still in high school?
I was pretty open-minded, but when I was going through the mentor program and I was realizing that teaching might not be the right path for me, I was talking to a couple of different business teachers that I had a good rapport with, and one suggested I take a Myers-Briggs test again. I took it again. It was pretty consistent with the first one, and he was able to see the results because I had lost the results from the first one. And he pointed out that HR, human resources, would be a good fit, potentially. And I went home kind of mulling that over. And my dad had pushed me to do some informational interviews with a couple of people he knew in the HR field. And I did that. I was not very happy with him at the time, but looking back, I'm very happy he made me do it, because it definitely paved the path that I was kind of going towards.
Very interesting. So you definitely had some adult influences guiding you as you were making your decision on what to proceed with.
So
you mentioned that you went to the University of Minnesota Duluth. Yeah. We have kids wondering, how did you get into college, and were there points in your journey where you just wanted to quit?
Sure. Well, so there wasn't really a question of if I was going to college. It was just kind of expected. I had been in accelerated classes in high school, so I had college credits leaving high school, and knew kind of where I was going to go. I didn't know, or I knew I was going to go the college path, but I didn't know where I was going to go. So it was a lot of touring schools, hearing kind of where friends were going and why they liked different schools, leaning on my friends that had graduated the year or two before me, and saying, hey, can I come visit you for a weekend? And they would say, yeah, sure, come visit. And I did that at Winona and St. Cloud, Eau Claire, and UMD. And I really got a sampling of what the campus felt like on the weekends. I got to see the different classrooms. I actually sat in on a class when I was in high school. One of my friends brought me to their class, and I just got to see what the experience was like, which was a game changer for me. And that helped me determine what school I wanted to go to.
And did you do most of that in your junior or your senior year, Ainsley?
My junior year.
Your junior year.
I did a lot of that my junior year, and then my senior year, I was applying to schools. At that point, I kind of knew where I wanted to go. I had narrowed it down between River Falls and UMD, and I actually didn't make a decision on which school I was going to until the last day before I had to make a decision. It was kind of a Hail Mary, and I just spit it out. I wanted to go to UMD, but I deferred River Falls because I was terrible at making decisions. I deferred it for a semester, so I was at UMD, and I had an offer on the table from River Falls to transfer if I wanted.
So that was a great strategy for you. You know, you kind of gave yourself a backup plan, and it sounds like you just kind of went with your intuition when crunch time came and you had to make a choice, it came to you. You know, it's been tough right now on our juniors and seniors with the pandemic, making those college visits. Because, you know, you mentioned how important that is, and that has been a lot harder right now this year, of course. Hopefully things will start opening up soon, and colleges are doing a lot of virtual opportunities to do the virtual tours or sit into a class, and hopefully that's getting by in the meantime, but there's really nothing like visiting that campus, is there?
No, that really helps make that choice easy.
Yeah.
Then also reaching out to friends that might have experienced a semester without it being in a COVID year would also be a really good indicator.
That's great advice, right? If our juniors and seniors now have some older siblings or older friends who can talk to them a little bit firsthand, that's a great resource too right now when things are still a little off.
Sure.
So you talked about your career path and how you ended up deciding your career. Ainsley, from the time you graduated from college, about how long did it take you to land on your feet and have a career that you felt like, you know, you are on the ground and you're running? How long was that?
Yeah, so when I graduated, I did have an offer already, but it wasn't an offer that was a good fit for me. And I made the choice to turn them down. You'll notice when you graduate, you'll have a lot of different companies reaching out to offer jobs that might not be the right fit. And those are typically the companies that have high turnover, that they turn and burn employees, and it's not the right fit for you. So doing your research on the company is just as important as like doing your research for a college. So I turned them down. I took a month. I traveled with a friend, and then I kind of came back. I was fortunate enough to be able to move back to my parents' house. They regrouped, and then I had an interview with Robert Half. It's a staffing agency. I was just looking for temp work until I could find a full-time job. And that was probably, let's see, in July. I had that meeting, and then end of July, I was matched with United Way, and they are a nonprofit in Minneapolis. They're actually throughout the world, but they have a downtown office, and that's where I was matched. So I went there and I worked part-time, which allowed me to still do interviews and things like that. And I loved it there. And I was actually offered a job there, but it was going to be 30 hours a week, and that wasn't going to give me benefits. It wasn't going to give me PTO and enough money to live on my own. So it wasn't until November of the year I graduated that I landed a full-time job that I had wanted.
So you really had to trust that the right opportunity would come your way, take the best offers, the ones that you felt most comfortable with at that time, but that didn't mean that's where you would be forever. You realized that you really were going through some stepping stones, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough that the people I worked with at United Way understood that it was a stepping stone for me, and they were very encouraging and helpful, so that really helped as well.
Great. Did you work when you were in high school and college? Did you hold jobs while you were a student?
I did not during high school, but I did in college. I worked at Target as a cashier, and then I also worked as a student worker as a tour guide coordinator.
Mm-hmm. And then you ended up with a higher position in Target later, didn't you?
I did. I actually threw away all of my red and khaki, thinking I will never need to use these again. And 2 months later, I was hired as a higher position at Target, and I needed to buy all new red and khaki.
Hey guys, you never know. You might be a clerk one day and you might be running the show the next.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a few questions about being a woman and rising up the ranks as a female. Can you talk about that a little bit? Any extra challenges? Was it scary ever or harder because you're a successful young woman?
Sure. I would say that there are a few extra challenges with it, but nothing that, we can't handle. I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of great women and men kind of try to break that mold of the good old boys club and really have helped kind of push me forward in my career. But really surrounding yourself with those individuals that will help versus hinder, and try not to dwell on the people that are going to try to hinder your career is the best path forward. You're going to see some resistance, especially being young, and then adding in female as well, depending on the industry, can prevent or prove extra challenges. I know when I was managing a team at Target, I had some older gentlemen not respect my position because of my age and gender, but ultimately, that's not their decision to make. And I was there to do a job, and I'm not there to be adored by everyone. And you have to just power through and know that you're doing the right thing.
That's great advice, right? Like just trust that you've been put in this position because you've earned it. You have that influence and power, and you just need to take advantage of that and power through. Have you sought any female role models or mentors, or did any approach you, or have you just kind of had a balance of both female and males?
I've had a good balance. I had a high school business teacher, Miss Lumen, who was fantastic. She definitely kickstarted me in the right direction. And then my first boss at Target, her name was May. She was fantastic. And actually, I'm still really good friends with her to this day. And she really helped pave the path, not only in that store for younger women to lead the show, but also career-wise. I still go to her. I'm going to get apps with her today just to talk about business. And, at this point, we're kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. The mentorship has changed to more of a friendship and a mutual help to each other. But at the time, I really relied on her to help me navigate career-wise.
That's fantastic. Have you found yourself now being in that place with younger employees? Are you taking on that role ever now?
Yes and no. I'm only 28, so I'm still in that younger category. But
definitely,
there are some fresh grads that are coming to work for Bachman's that, just having those conversations and helping them navigate what their first job looks like and what to expect, what is normal and what's not normal, is something that I'm able to kind of help them navigate with.
And then this is a perfect lead up to our next question, because you are, of course, still very young. What are your future career goals? What do you hope to still accomplish?
Yeah, that is still to be determined. I think when you're in high school and then you're in college, they tell you you need to kind of pick something and go for it. And, 28, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up still. I do really enjoy the HR path. I could see myself wanting to become a senior recruiter and then probably a manager of like talent acquisition. I could also see myself working in higher education. So kind of combining the two worlds.
So maybe that early interest in teaching that you had, you might end up utilizing after all if you end up in higher education.
Exactly, or like an academic advisor or something. I don't know. I tell my husband every day that, oh, I can see that as a career path. Oh, I can see that as a career path. And he's like, just pick something.
Well, you've definitely been on one, so good for you. All right, on our last 9 minutes here, it looks like, let's talk about your position as a human resource professional. You are someone who hires people, right? Like you are kind of that key person for employees who are trying to figure out how to get hired and how to enter the workforce. And we have quite a few questions from students who are wondering, hey, how do I impress human resources? How do I get a job? So I'm going to ask you a few questions around that right now. A couple really basic ones is number one, any tips on what you should wear to an interview when you finally land an interview?
Yeah, so rule of thumb is wear what your boss would wear.
Oh.
So if you're going to an interview for, like, say, a cashier position, wear, what a supervisor would wear, something a little bit nicer. You don't have to wear a suit to an interview, but maybe a nice blouse or polo, maybe not dress pants, but nice pants, not jeans, nothing with holes, no sweatpants. And it never hurts to overdress, right? If I have someone come for an interview with a suit on, I'm going to be impressed, even if they didn't need to wear a suit. For me, if I go into an interview, it is a pantsuit or a skirt and a blazer and a blouse, something of that sort. Once you start getting into a career type job versus a high school job, that's where you need to start dressing to impress and dressing into the position that your boss is in.
I love that advice. Just wear what your boss would wear. So that doesn't necessarily mean, if you're a high school student looking for that part-time job, that you have to, invest in a suit or, for the girl, some, pantsuit or something. However, you do want to just be a little bit nicer than your everyday wear. Think of what your boss wears if you're interviewing at Target, for example, that's great advice. Any interview tips?
Show up early, and I'm not saying super early. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little weird when people show up 15, 20, 30 minutes early, but arrive at least to the parking lot, give yourself a little bit of extra time, show up, I would say 5 minutes early, introduce yourself wherever you're supposed to go. That makes a difference. And then in a non-COVID year, shake the interviewer's hand. In a COVID year, you can make an awkward joke like, oh, I would normally shake your hand kind of thing, to ease that tension. And then eye contact in the interview when you're answering questions. A lot of places look for situational based answers. So tell me about a time, and then you tell them about the situation, and the results.
So specific stories. Okay, so if they're looking for specific stories that you can share, is that what you mean by situational, Ainsley?
Correct. So tell me about a time when you worked on a group project. Well, I worked on a group project in this class, and we all worked well together. We communicated, and we ended up getting a B plus or an A or whatever have you. Always follow up with the results.
Okay, great. So share a situation you've been in and then follow up with the results. That's really great tangible advice. And we have a bunch of questions about resumes. College students have to put together those resumes, and that's hard to do. Can you tell us what employers are looking for in a resume and any resume tips?
If it's your first job, still make a resume. You might have volunteer experience. You have high school experience, so put that on there. What clubs and organizations you're involved in, what year you are in high school. Really show the initiative that you at least made an effort to make a resume. It doesn't need to have jobs on it. And honestly, it'd be weird if you had a job on a resume and you're going for your first job. And that's okay. I will say we have had a lot of impressive high schoolers come into Bachman's with their first resume, and it says, I do this, this, and this that make me an outstanding citizen, and I spend my free time doing A, B, and C. And one of the bullet points was, I spend time with my younger sister. And I remember that still. We hired him. We made a spot for him. We actually made an extra position specifically for him.
Wow, that's awesome, because he made that connection with relationship or family. He showed who he was by that bullet item.
Mm-hmm. And he actually showed up with the resume in hand, came in, introduced himself, and handed me the resume.
Oh, I love that. Those are great tips. So it's okay, we're expecting like high school kids to just have experiences, activities, very limited job experience. Is it okay for resumes to really not be that long, just be, short and not a lot on it yet? I know that's one thing that students sometimes worry about.
Don't worry about the length. It's actually more alarming if a resume is too long.
Okay, good. Okay, our last couple minutes, I want to get this last question. Is it fun to work in Bachman's? Do you need to already know about flowers or plaids? Here it is, a Richfield business. Tell us about working there for our high school students who might want a part-time job.
Yeah, absolutely. We're hiring. I love working for Bachman's. You can really work in a lot of different areas as a high schooler. And we have pretty flexible schedules that will allow for students to still be in sports and then come to work afterwards or before, and then they have to leave for sports. You do not need to have any knowledge about plants, flowers, whatever have you before you arrive, but you need to have that willingness to want to learn. And you need to have the drive to want to work hard when you're here. So the students that succeed at our company and have the most fun are the ones that are looking for new things to do, learn new things, and they end up making a lot of friends here. You can work as a cashier, you can work in stock, carry out, at the floral counter, and we've actually had a couple of kids say, this is what I want to do with my career. And they've changed what they're going to college for now.
Oh, that's great. Well, this is the conclusion of our guest speaker with Ainsley Yee. Thank you, Ainsley. You gave us great advice, not only about your own pathway, but for various options. And if anyone does want to work at Bachman's, where do they apply?
bachmans.com/employment.
All right. Thank you very much, Ainsley. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me.